What's up, everyone? Welcome into Around the Felt, episode 46. The boys are back. I'm your host, Colin Tong, the champ of the big bet this season at the conclusion of the Colts Houston game this weekend. We will get into that, but officially the end of the regular season, 11 wins to 5, Reagan. How are you feeling?
Well, the good thing is I got the playoffs to make up for it. So
even if you go 4-0, I'm still the champ.
Yep, that is true. But you know what? They're in the past now. I only got a few to still film. I only got 3 left to still film, so this is not really
Which
in the
3?
past. Day in the life, which I'm going to do tomorrow.
Day in the
I was
life.
going to do it today, but it was so crappy out. I'm like, I'm not going to bring the camera in the pouring rain.
Lacrosse,
and then the
Snow Angel,
which we're doing after the pod.
We decided the Houston Indy was a Snow Angel with the storm coming in. So after this pod, actually, Reagan's going to do the Snow Angel. That video will be out for you guys.
Yeah.
That should be fun. I'm looking forward to that because I'm going to kick so much snow in your ass.
I'm not. In my ass.
On your ass, bro.
Nah.
Only you would take it that far, my friend. Well, we got a lot of news, Reagan. A lot of firings this week. But first, we're going to start off with Michigan defeating Washington to win the college football championship. Reagan, I know you were on Washington. I was on Texas. Drock was on Alabama. Joe is the champ for that. He had Michigan, so we will be doing red light, green light with Joe having a paintball gun. We'll hash that out, but we will all get punished for that.
Yeah, that'll be probably filmed sooner rather than later. We just got to, like you said, hash out the details.
That's going to suck.
Fun for him.
That's not going to be fun, but
fun for the viewers, you know? A lot of you guys probably want to see Drock get in on these punishments, so you'll get to see him get
finally
hammered out.
It's not just me and Reagan getting punished. Now, Reagan, I want to hear your thoughts on this game because I have a lot to say on the game itself and on draft implications for some of the players involved.
What I'll say is the scoreboard doesn't necessarily reflect how bad it was. In the sense, like, it was close. Like, it was 20-13 in the fourth quarter. And then
which it shouldn't even have been.
And yeah, but it was. And then they had that, like, controversial holding call that got called back. And then it just seemed like once that happened, after Washington had the big play negated, then kind of lost all the momentum. And then Michigan just kind of ran away with it and had that pick at the end that put them in, I think, the 5-yard line of Washington.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was over. I mean, but then you look at the rushing yards, like, 200 and something rushing yards and 13 points to show for it in the first half. Like, Washington was lucky to even be in the game at that point.
I agree. Going into this game, my head said Michigan, my heart said Washington. Was riding with Washington all year, but
well, not all year,
except for the Texas game. So I go against them and then they screw me, and then I go back to them and then they screw me, which sucks. But Z, Mr. Logistics, is at Michigan State, so it's always fuck Michigan. Going into this game, I knew.
Oh, wait, so Z, congrats, buddy. Michigan won. That's good, right, for the state?
No. That's not how it works over there. Going into this game, I knew it was going to be determined by the line of scrimmage. Clearly, Michigan established the run game very early with Donovan Edwards, who going into the season, it was him and Blake Corum as definitely the top 2 running back tandem in the country. Edwards got off to a slow start, wasn't really as much of a factor, while Blake Corum had a phenomenal season. And then Edwards bust off those 2 long touchdown runs. Then Corum got his 2 touchdowns at the end of the game to seal it. So them taking control of the line of scrimmage was huge on offense because McCarthy didn't really have to do much. Defensively, they also took control of the line of scrimmage, particularly in the interior, because Penix looked like he was flustered all day, man. Like, he was missing throws, he was missing guys high consistently, and it was a problem. They only had to bring 4, so they can sit everyone in zone against those 3 receivers, which was the best 3 receiving core in the country. I mean, it's brutal. It's brutal, but draft stocks on guys from that game, for me personally, Michael Penix, down, way down. People were gassing him up after the Texas game. Granted, he had a lot of phenomenal throws, was good all year, very accurate, especially downfield, but in this one, he looked like he was under pressure a lot, and when he was under pressure, he was terrible, which in the league, you're going to get pressured a lot.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're picked to a bad team that doesn't have a good offensive line.
Now, what do you think about McCarthy's performance? Because I saw a lot of people, like, critiquing it, but it's like, he kind of did what they asked. Like,
exactly.
Like,
yeah, he didn't have to do much.
What? Like, I don't understand. Like, people are, like, freaking out. It's like, you only completed 10 passes on 18 throws, but it's like, if you're running the ball like that, why pass it?
Absolutely. And then they used him off the play action on first downs, and all the linebackers would suck up in the safeties, and he'd throw the ball right behind him.
And he had a couple good runs, too.
He did. He did. That third down run was huge, so good to see him use his legs, because that's something evaluators will really like. And I agree. He did what they asked of him. He didn't have to do too much to get the win. Now, it's going to be tough because he was a 5-star recruit. You know he can run. He's smart. He's got a good arm.
Yeah,
but
he's a winner too.
He's a winner. Yes, he's a winner. But all season, it was never on him to get it done. Like where Caleb Williams at USC, it was Caleb. He was basically their entire offense. If he was off, the team was going to lose no matter what. Where with McCarthy, didn't have to do it at Michigan. So I think it's a really tough evaluation.
It's interesting though, because it's not like every team in the NFL like you need to have a great quarterback to be successful.
No, I mean we have this conversation all the time with the Niners and Purdy. Like,
yeah.
Purdy wasn't an elite prospect, but he's in the right system and he's playing great football and he's running play action like McCarthy did at Michigan, and it's working really well because he's making the throws and he's making the proper reads. So I don't think McCarthy warrants a top 10 pick.
No.
Could he go somewhere in the back half of the first? Maybe, because that's what
Probably
a lot of
not.
evaluators kind of say he's going to be picked higher than people expected. And scouts, I don't know, man. I wouldn't touch McCarthy in the first. Me personally, he's more of like a round 2 kind of guy for me. I think he can find a good spot.
Because I feel like every year there's a couple quarterbacks that we hear that they might creep up into the first round, and then they end up going second, third, fourth. They end up falling, like Malik Willis, Davis Mills. Who else? Levis
I will
last
say
year.
for Levis is a good one. Yes, absolutely agree with that. For Willis, I will say I think he kind of creeped up due to the fact that he tested really well, and the only other like legit quarterback prospect, not even legit, was Pickett. It was just not many quarterbacks.
That is true too, but still, I feel like in Davis Mills too that year, like in that draft class is very similar to this draft class where there's a lot of quarterbacks that they're projecting to go in the first round. They're like, we may even see Davis Mills sneak into the first round, and I feel like McCarthy's kind of at that like 5, 6, 7 range where he may sneak in, but odds are I don't expect him to sneak in. Even Geno Smith back in the day, he fell to the second round when they were projecting him to go early in the first. So I feel like time and time again, they always say a lot more prospects that don't end up going there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought Rome Odunze played well.
Okay.
And he was going against Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan,
who's probably going to be... Is he going into the draft?
No, he's a sophomore. He's going in the draft next year, 2025, and Matt Miller, one of the best draft guys out there, who I respect a lot, he says it's in cement. He is the number 1 corner for 2025. The dude is a stud. And he was falling around Odunze, so I thought Odunze played well. He had like 85 yards, and then he had that long one that was negated as well for that holding penalty.
He could have had another long one that it was a bad throw.
Yes, the one by Penix. Like, Odunze could have went for 180 in that game against arguably one of the top corners in college football. So for me, I mean, usually people want to bring up like John Ross, and because he was played at Washington, a lot of guys from Washington don't really pan out in the league. I don't know. I think Odunze is a pretty safe prospect. He's 6'2", does a lot of things well. So I was impressed with his performance.
I think a lot of it's situation, too, though, where he ends up going and who his quarterback is, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll really define it. Because if he goes to a situation where it's a quarterback that struggles a lot, then odds are he's not going to have a lot of the success early on. But if he goes to a really good quarterback, then, yeah, he probably will have a lot of success.
I agree. And every year there's a lot of receivers picked in the first round. Some pan out, some don't. There's 4 at the top this year: Marv, Odunze, Malik Neighbors, and Keon Coleman. Odds are
Keon Coleman,
one of them.
I saw some people saying he might not even go in the first round.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
he's going first round. But every year, a couple, like 1 or 2 of them are guaranteed to not pan out. So it'd be interesting to see. All right, that wraps up the college football championship. Now let's get back in the NFL. We got a lot of news, a lot of coaches fired. The big one, man, Mike Vrabel fired by the Titans. Reagan, what are your thoughts on this one?
I was honestly shocked. I mean, I thought that this team fought for him all year. I mean, he's coming off of the Coach of the Year just 2 years ago in 2021. So first seed in the AFC. So I thought for where their roster was at, like not a ton of talent on it, a lot of older guys, that it was shocking to me because I did expect them to have more success, but I also think like looking at it, like they really can't like keep up with a lot of those teams. But you
expected him to have that success because of Vrabel, because his teams are always competitive.
I mean, I think he'll get picked up. Like, he'll be one of the top coaching names. I'd be shocked if he's an OC, or a DC anywhere. I
think he's definitely going to get a job.
Yeah, I think for certain he'll be a head coach. I would be very surprised if he took a DC job. And I doubt he'd make a lateral move, like he'd go down to the college ranks. But I guess you never know.
Yeah.
If somebody's willing to give him a ton of money and give him the keys to the program, I guess you never know. Can't rule it out, but I think it's either going to be the head coach in college or NFL. I couldn't see him taking a coordinator role.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's definitely going to get a head coaching job. To look out for the Patriots, but the whole Belichick situation, which has been talked about all season, has not been resolved. If Belichick does leave New England, I think it's very likely Vrabel becomes the next coach of the Patriots, where he played under Belichick, where he won Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Start his coaching career. I mean, I think that's going to be a shoo-in because they also have a top pick to get a quarterback where I feel like that's a better situation to rebuild than Tennessee.
I can see him also going to the Chargers just because you get the established quarterback already.
Yeah, I could see that as well.
That'll probably be the top coaching job if I had to guess right now.
Yeah, well, we can get into that too.
One with an established quarterback.
Yeah,
but we'll have all offseason.
I'm writing a blog on that one, the top. But yeah, I agree. I would put Chargers at 1. I think this whole Vrabel thing kind of hit the wall the past 2 seasons. I think it started when they traded A.J. Brown.
Yeah,
that's when
it. Yeah,
the GM is well regarded within league circles, but you could tell like the whole draft video of Vrabel getting up out of his seat. He looks all pissed off when they traded A.J. Brown. That was an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think there was a disagreement there in the philosophy, and then the GM paid Tannehill all that money. So now, Tannehill's washed and he's old. They really didn't have financial flexibility.
At least they're done with him too. Like he's gone.
Tannehill's done. So, man, the Titans got a lot of work to do. I'm sure a lot of people in Tennessee are not happy about this.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be picking first next year, so
they certainly could. It's not out of the question.
They're definitely one of the top commodities to be doing that.
Yeah, I'd say Carolina probably up there too again.
Yeah.
Ron Rivera fired by the Commanders. Reagan, we saw this one coming from before the season even started. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, I mean there's not a lot to get in there. That's one we expected, and it'll be interesting to see what happens, but. Like we said, we don't have to go on a huge tangent because we'll get into that a lot in the offseason, but that's definitely going to be another job where it's, I think, one of the top jobs just because it's a whole new ownership group. It's not the Dan Snyder that everyone's talked about. It's a whole new ownership group. Like, you're coming in as the first hand-picked head coach, so I think it'll be a more attractive job than those expect, especially because odds are they're going to be having Caleb Williams or Drake May as their quarterback.
Yeah, and they have the number 2 pick in the draft, and they have $70 million in cap space.
Yeah, very attractive.
That is an attractive job.
In a bigger market, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd put them second behind the Chargers, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you can honestly make a case that they're ahead of the Chargers.
You could, absolutely. Just because you almost have a blank slate. Like, you can build the team how you want.
Yeah.
In the new ownership group. They hired Bob Myers, former GM of the Warriors, who constructed 3 championship teams to assist in the hiring process.
Fair enough. It's a different sport.
Magic Johnson's a part of the hiring group.
He's an owner. He's part of the ownership group.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I think that's a good spot. Mm-hmm. The Falcons fire Arthur Smith. Thank you, Arthur Blank. I am so happy Arthur Smith is gone. You don't take 3 premier blue chip skill position players and give the ball to Jonnu Smith over and over and over, and Algier over and over and over. It was such a waste of offensive talent. He never got a quarterback. I'm sure that's the biggest regret from this Atlanta regime. You rolled out Desmond Ridder instead of trying to get a guy like Lamar Jackson, or you passed on so many quarterbacks. You passed on Justin Fields. Thank the Lord Arthur Smith is gone.
Well,
thank you. And for all fantasy football people out there, we should all be happy with this.
Yeah, he'll pick up an OC job somewhere. I'd be shocked if he didn't, just because he's had success as an OC in the league.
I agree.
So
yeah, he'll get a job.
He'll get an OC job somewhere. I could even see it be with Vrabel, as he was his OC before and had a lot of success in Tennessee.
Ooh.
Which is the whole reason he got the job as the Atlanta coach, was because of his success in Tennessee. So
yeah,
I could see that being a pairing.
Vrabel
together.
And Arthur Smith in New England. I wouldn't mind that.
Or you never know. Like I'd hope for Arthur Smith for you guys and the Giants. That'd be a good OC.
No, we kept our OC, so get out of here.
No, that would be too funny though.
I'd be so mad.
I don't want him to go there just because you'd have to deal with that. But no, I think he'll actually be the OC for wherever Vrabel goes.
That's a good take, Reagan. I saw someone on Twitter. It was a joke. He's like, "Oh, everyone's so happy, like all these fantasy football people, that Arthur Smith is gone. So now, Bijan and Kyle Pitts, which apparently part of the reason he was fired is because of the misuse of Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
Now in fantasy, they're all more than relative. They should all get a huge boost up with this, just for Arthur Smith to replace Ben Johnson as the Lions OC and Ruin Gibbs and Amon-Ra and all those guys. We'll
see. I mean, I still think he'll definitely get a job somewhere as an OC. I'd be shocked if he didn't.
Yeah. The Panthers fire their GM, Scott Fitterer, after 3 seasons. Reagan, when you take a quarterback number 1, you almost feel like you're buying yourself a couple years when you wait for that quarterback to develop. But in this instance, they gave up so much to get that quarterback that now that pick is the number 1 overall pick. You obviously didn't get the talent around him. You didn't have the offensive line in place. You didn't have any viable receiving options outside of 33-year-old Adam Thielen. Are you surprised that they let go of their GM after taking a quarterback number 1 last year?
In a sense, yes, because I think they're going to have struggled to fill both the head coaching role and the GM role because
Agreed.
They left the team with nothing in terms of Like, I mean, they have some cap space, but they don't have a ton of draft picks, obviously.
Or
so
blue chip players.
It's not exactly the most attractive destination, especially because you're coming into a situation where you have to like Bryce Young. Like, he's not your quarterback, but they're basically
married to Bryce Young.
They're married to him he's going to be there for at least the first 4 years, and they'll probably pick up his 5th-year option at this point because we're setting the franchise back so much. So I don't know. I still think there's a chance for Bryce Young. I'm not ruling him out. A lot of people are like already saying the trade's an automatic L. I want to give it at least another year to see if, hey, maybe they get a coach in there that can unlock him with the limited weapons they have, and maybe they get the GM in there that can help throw a Band-Aid on it. But I'm definitely not out on Bryce Young. And I'm not definitely saying the Bears won that trade yet because it's just too early to tell.
I agree with you. Now, for the Bears side, no matter what Bryce Young becomes, it's probably still a win based on the capital you got. You got number one. You got DJ Moore. You got a second rounder next year, which will probably be a high second rounder.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, there's always a world where it's a win-win. It doesn't have to be a win-loss.
Yeah. That's not what I'm saying.
Bears are an automatic win, but there's a world where the Panthers also didn't lose this trade.
Because at the end of the day, if you give up a haul to get a quarterback and he ends up turning your franchise around as a franchise caliber quarterback, doesn't matter what you gave up. You got your guy for the next 15, 20 years. It's all that matters because you're not going to win in this league without a star quarterback.
And Bryce did show flashes this year. Like, a lot of people like to send around the stats and stuff without watching the games, but he definitely showed flashes.
That's my biggest pet peeve is when people just say stats without any context involved.
You'll love that. Like, a lot of people, I got some buddies that were sending around Josh Allen's stats after that game the other day, and they're like, Josh Allen went off. I'm like, did you watch the game? Like, they didn't win that game because of him. Like, his last drive was incredible, but that punt return changed the momentum, and Josh Allen had 3 turnovers up to that point and decided to throw a ball short where he got stopped. So, yeah, it was awesome that he could move the ball downfield, but it doesn't matter if you're going to turn it over. They won that game because their defense stepped up and shut down a Miami offense. So that's a big pet peeve when everyone's like, look at Josh Allen's numbers. I'm like, did you watch the game? Like, he was
turnover king.
He was good, but he wasn't, like, elite. Like, if I look at the box score, like, holy shit, that's a lot of yards. But, like, if you watch the game, he was okay.
The first pick in the end zone, bad. The throw short of the goal line, bad. Cannot happen in that situation. That's what McDermott said before half. The 4th and 2 pick, he rolled out. Yeah. He was about to get hit. You got to throw the ball. He chucked the ball in the end zone.
How about his first touchdown pass? Like, without context, that's super lucky.
Yeah, the one that got deflected.
You know what I mean? Like, he goes on the box scores, passing touchdown, but you don't actually, like, without watching the game, you don't know that that's, like, complete luck. Like, that's not him making a good play.
Yeah, that was luck.
That's him making a bad play that should have been picked off.
Well, it hit a defensive lineman in the head.
Yeah.
So it's a freak play. Got lucky that it was a touchdown.
Yeah, because that could go the other way and be a pick on the box.
I will say, like, a lot of people want to bring up the Josh Allen turnovers, and I'm in agreement with you in this instance, but a lot of his turnovers are he's a gunslinger. He chucks the ball deep downfield on third and long, fourth down situations that end up being picks. He does throw a lot of picks, but I will say not all of them are on Josh.
I just think context is key in a lot of these situations where, like, the Bills defense looked insane, and they haven't looked amazing this year, obviously, with Matt Milano going down. So, to me, like, it was more on their defense, and then, obviously, a huge special teams play by Deontay Harris.
Yep, Hardy.
So,
he doesn't sling that thing.
Hardy.
He just
I thought it was Harris.
No, it was Hardy.
Deontay Hardy.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, but he was all pro back with the Saints back in the day as a returner.
Yes.
Dude's elite as a returner.
Yes, he is.
So.
Giants defensive coordinator Wink Martindale says he's stepping down. However, Reagan, he has not filed his papers, is still under contract, and was seen in the airport today flying down to his home in Florida. This is a whole fiasco here, and let me break it down for you guys because people were floating around, like Eagles, Commanders, this and that. No. The reason this is a thing is because Dable fired the outside linebacker coach and another defensive assistant who were brothers.
Okay.
Apparently, they are Wink's guys. Like, where Wink goes, they go. Like, those are his boys. So when Dable fired him, which was rightfully so because of the Giants' 3 edge rushers, Kayvon, Azeez Ojulari, and Jihad Ward, they were all out of, like, 77 qualified edge rushers. They were all in the 70s in pass rush win rate, which I thought was a wild stat.
I thought Thibodeau,
he had 11 sacks.
But that's another thing where I guess context is key. Because just looking at the stats, you'd say he had a hell of a season.
Yeah, and so when you see that, you're like, okay, a change was probably needed there, right? Like, you're not teaching the correct technique, or something needs to be changed, because we only had one viable pass rusher on the edge this season. It was Thibodeau, but he's still, where he ranked pass rush win rate, not good. They fired him, apparently got into a huge fight with Daboll when they had their meeting, and he stormed out. He announced his intentions to resign. However, he's under contract for 1 more year. If the Giants were to fire him, he could sign wherever he wants.
Yeah.
In whatever position he wants.
If he resigns, then you have to either trade him or release him.
Yeah, so if
Same thing that happened with Sean Payton.
Yes, with 1 year on his contract, you can't just the Giants can block any lateral move. So if he goes as a defensive coordinator to another team, they can block it. So he will not be the DC of Philly. He will not be the DC of Washington. Giants will never let that happen. Now, if he were to get a head coaching opportunity, then he could go wherever the hell he wants.
Which could be to Washington as a head coach.
If he got the Washington head coaching job,
but I don't think
yes.
I don't think he's going to be considered for any head coaching jobs.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, it was floated around like 2 years ago.
I don't think
a little bit last year.
I just think there's like a lot. He's not a hot name right now, so I'd be shocked if he got it. If he got the job.
So right now, the Giants and Wink are in a holding pattern right now because they're waiting to hear from him. Apparently, he's not picking up his phone. Complicated situation. I don't know. I wanted Wink to be the Giants DC still, but the relationship with Dable did not allow that. Just a weird scenario. All right, now let's talk about some players. TJ Watt ruled out versus the Bills this weekend in the wild card round due to that knee injury.
Yeah, you could essentially any hopes you had of winning, you could kiss goodbye, Steelers.
I agree,
but
dude.
The defense is like so good when he plays. And he has such a big impact that most defensive players like don't have that impact. Where if they're out, the defense looks completely different. Like the time he missed last year, like the Bills are going to put up 30 points on the Steelers defense now. Something that wouldn't have happened if Watt was playing. It'd be more like 20, but they probably wouldn't have put up a ton of points.
I agree with you. TJ Watt has 19 sacks. You take that out of your defensive line. Not good.
Yeah, best edge rusher in the league.
It's
or one of them.
I mean,
you can nitpick. You could say whatever you want. Like there's a couple guys you could debate, but he's had the most sacks the past couple of years.
He's the most consistent. He's the most consistent when he's healthy. I mean, it's hard to debate that. I think I saw a stat. Don't quote me on this, but I think he was like the first player in NFL history to have three seasons of 19 or more sacks.
Yeah, no. Well, maybe that as well, but he was the first player also to have 3 seasons leading the league in sacks, I saw as well.
Okay, yeah. I think it's both. It's probably both, because if you get 19 plus,
Wow.
So that's a huge loss for Pittsburgh. That's why they are 10-point underdogs heading into Buffalo this week.
Yep, not shocking.
Sam Laporta likely to miss time with that hyper-extended knee.
So he's out for the season because they're losing this week.
Yeah, I also think they're losing this week.
You think the Lions lose?
I think Matthew Stafford walks in there, and
they're only 3-point. They're only 3-point favorites.
Yeah,
the line's very small.
We'll talk about that tomorrow, but Rams got that championship pedigree. Their core has done it. I think they walk into Detroit with Matthew Stafford.
Stafford's going to light up those corners.
Yeah, Stafford's going to have a monster game. Nakua's going to have a monster game. That leads right into my next point. Puka Nacua sets the new rookie record for yards and receptions.
My boy!
Reagan's boy. Applause for Puka. Congrats. You surpassed Jamar Chase.
Great demeanor. Love the guy.
Love the guy. He's a cool dude. He's a cool dude. I don't know if you guys saw the video of the Rams in the draft room when they were going to take him.
Yep.
Les Snead and Sean McVay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Sean McVay, this whole vision for him, everything that he could do. And they're like, he didn't test well, but neither did Ogletree. And if you saw Ogletree just running with guys in the field,
he was
a beast.
He was good when he
you
was
could
the Rams
see Nacua,
linebacker, yeah.
He got hawked by Dory Jackson on that 80-yard catch against the Giants 2 weeks ago, but that's Dory Jackson. That's a 4-3 guy. You know what I mean?
I don't know why that
It's also like doesn't make or break a career.
No, it does not. So like
he's still a great possession guy.
Just goes to show you guys, sometimes players in college don't produce, but they test like freaks, and they get drafted really high. And because of those traits, they could be studs or they could be busts.
He had Jaron Hall as his quarterback. Come on.
On the other side of it, sometimes guys don't test well. Doesn't mean they're not going to be a good player.
I wish that Puka clip came out in the beginning of the season rather than the end, so I knew to pick him up. But
Yeah.
I guess Reagan was smart enough to pick that up.
Reagan stash Puka.
I was.
Reagan stash Puka. Okay. That's all the news. That was a lot of news, man. Probably the most news we've had all season.
Mm-hmm.
But we got a lot of questions as well, guys. We appreciate the questions. Let's transition to that. Drock is reading them today.
Let's jump into it. We're not starting with Aussie. We're starting with Walmart today.
Walmart, what's up, brother?
Wally!
General question for you guys. Take over as a GM. From your perspective, from your respective franchises for a second, Jets and Giants, what moves are you making if you are in the front office?
It's a good question. You can start with the Jets.
How about I do the Giants and you do the Jets?
Oh, that's fair.
So you got the bias.
You want to switch it up? All right,
Yeah, you
that's
want to
fair.
go first?
I've already talked about what I would do with the Jets, but I'll get into
talk
it.
about it on the pod.
So Jets are picking 10th. The way the draft board's shaking up and the team needs ahead of them, I think it's unlikely that Olu Fashanu and Joe Alt will be there at 10, which should be their two main targets. They need offensive line. Because you got one guy that you're confident in, for sure, and that's AVT.
Who's also coming off of 2 big injuries.
Yes. And then Tittman at center, you just took him. Okay, so center's filled. You got 3 holes, in my opinion. I'm not putting faith in Becton. I'm sorry. Are you? No. So you just can't at this point, given his health and his inconsistency. You got 3 spots to fill on an offensive line to protect Aaron Rodgers coming off an Achilles, and he's going to be, 40 years old?
Yeah.
You got to go O-line. And there is another tackle, I forget his name. There's another tackle that's worthy of a first-round pick, but the drop-off from Fashanu and Alt is tough.
Unless we trade back.
You could trade back.
Or, I also think there's a chance we trade for Bakhtiari as well.
They could, but Bakhtiari has been healthy in 3 years.
I know, so it's also risky.
So, I would still trade for Bakhtiari if he's not taking up too much of the cap and the Packers eat money, but, but you can't rely on him. So, if I'm the Jets, I'm going to do everything I can to move up to get one of those 2 tackles. If there's, at number 8, Atlanta's there, if Joe Alt's on the board, I'm moving up 2 spots and I'm getting Joe Alt.
Thing is, with Atlanta is they'll probably go quarterback.
Yeah, they could, but I don't think they're taking Penix at 8. If Daniels falls...
I'm saying I think they might trade up
if they could
get it.
If they trade up, fine. I'm just assuming if Atlanta's there at 8, that's a team I would target to move up there to take a tackle. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Giants would move down. Giants, it depends.
I'll get into that in a second.
It depends on if their new offensive line coach has faith that he can rebuild Evan Neal, because if you don't want to go with those 2 tackles, you could take a receiver at 10. So Giants could be a potential trade partner as well. You got to get one of those 2 tackles. I also think you need another receiver opposite of Garrett Wilson. T. Higgins, the free agent. He's going to cost a pretty penny, though. I think Devontae Adams is still very much in play.
I actually do have a cool Devontae Adams story. So my boy from college, his brother is an up-and-coming rapper slash... I guess he'd be considered a rapper or pop, but he's at 20K on Instagram now. Devontae Adams actually posted about him on his Instagram story.
That's fly.
And they follow
pretty
each
cool.
other. Yeah, I was like, dude, that's so sick.
That is sick.
Yeah, I saw that today, and the kid had 10K a couple weeks ago. Now he's at 20K.
That's
so he's
awesome.
Popping off on TikTok and stuff.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. So I think Devontae Adams could be available. The Jets tried to get him at the deadline. Raiders didn't bite. If Antonio Pierce does not get the head coaching job after Devontae Adams said to the organization, I want him as my coach, if they bring in a Harbaugh, which is the talk right now, I can see Devontae being I am just done with this organization. I'm out. Yeah. And the Jets are clearly the top target to pair him with Aaron Rodgers. If Devontae's available, go get him.
Yeah.
Mike Evans, I feel is also a better fit than T. Higgins, given the timeline of the team. Mike Evans, a good veteran receiver. I'd rather have him because he's going to be cheaper than T. Higgins in my mind, based on age. Based on age.
Whoa, you're the Giants GM here.
So what?
Fair enough. True.
So I would trade up to get one of those 2 tackles if you need to, and I try to get Devontae Adams, and then I invest the rest of the draft capital building out your depth. You need some more interior offensive linemen. You need more depth there, just so you have flexibility to kick AVT out to right tackle if needed. If you can't sign a right tackle in free agency, so I think you got to add at least 3 offensive linemen in the draft. That's how to attack the Jets. Defense is fine, man. Just retain your guys. Keep DJ Reed, re-sign him, opposite of Sauce Gardner. Mm-hmm. You're fine at linebacker with Mosley and Williams. You still got Quinn and Williams in the interior. You got plenty of edge rushers. Hopefully Will McDonald get in the field. Defense will be fine. Just bring back Reed.
Get a new stadium, too.
Do you agree with how
I do, yeah. The Jets? We don't have our second-round pick either because with the Rodgers trade, it was based off of the amount of snaps he plays, which obviously he didn't even come close to, so it turned into a second-round pick. So we don't have our second-rounder. But, yeah, I agree. We got to really focus on offensive line, wide receivers. If we happen to take a quarterback shot in the 4th or 5th round to try to develop, so be it. But
maybe a back in the 4th or 5th just to
spell
Brees Hall a little bit.
I like the guy we got from Pitt, Abaconda. Israel Abaconda.
Yeah. Anaconda?
His name's hard to pronounce. But
he was a dog at Pitt.
Yeah, he was. So I like him. So we don't necessarily have to draft a running back. But yeah, I'd say the offensive line is our biggest thing. Defensively, we really don't. Safety, you could still be addressed. But outside of that, not a lot of holes. We have a lot of edge rushers because I just hope we re-sign Bryce Huff because he had first double-digit season, but he's top 5 in pressure.
Yeah, pressure percentage is key because Crosby was top of the pressure percentage for a few years and guys weren't putting him up there, but now we all know Max Crosby's that dude.
Yeah. All right, so now let me talk some Giants. You got to talk your Jets. Let me talk my Giants now.
Sounds good.
So I think there's a lot of options you can go here.
You can go a lot of ways with the Giants.
But you can. So one I like is trading back because obviously in the beginning of the year I'm not sold on Daniel Jones. I know the contract. There's ways you can get out of it, but not this year. So I say you give him one more chance to prove if he is a starter or not, I think, at this point. Because I think there's more holes in the team that you're not going to put together a Super Bowl winning roster anyway. So you need to know, do we want to get ties with Jones Maybe. So what you do here is if Jaden Daniels is still there and somebody wants to come up and get him at 6, which I think there is a good chance he is, you then decide, hey, do we want to trade back? Because we have a lot of holes we can fill, which whether it's on the line, the D line, because right now Lawrence and Thibodeau, they're legit. But outside of that, like there's no like proven guys. Like old Jolari, like
Can't stay healthy.
Can't stay healthy. He's all right. Definitely can be replaced if you can get like a guy like Dallas Turner, one of the other edge rushers. Then in the secondary, well, actually the linebacker core, I think you're good.
Good. Linebacker's
like,
fine for the first time in a long time.
I'm blanking out on the other.
Micah McFadden.
Micah
They took in the 5th round a couple years ago.
And
He was good
definitely
this year.
Seems to fit the part. Good big time tackle guy. So then it comes out to the secondary. McKinney's good still. I think you guys have got to be paying him
He's
soon.
a free agent.
Yeah,
he's a free agent
right
now.
You got to re-sign him.
He was really good this year. I'm not gonna lie, he was really good, but I think he's gonna have a high market.
Yeah,
so it's gonna be. Do you want to pay a safety right now?
But you're not taking a safety in the first round. You're just not, unless you trade way back. But last year we didn't even see a safety go in the first round, so you're not taking a safety. So if you are sold on like a Kool-Aid McKinstry and want to trade back for him to pair with the Banks, do it. Because obviously, like you see with teams that have multiple corners, like if one guy goes down, you're not screwed. Or you have two guys locking it down, then it takes a lot of stress off that edge rush that maybe the sack numbers aren't there, but they can get up more because they get more time to go up to the quarterback because they can't throw it. So if you fall in love with a Kool-Aid McKinstry or one of the other corners, take him. Then on the offensive side of things...
Hold on, before you move on, just pointing out, Odori Jackson is a free agent. Very unlikely he comes back. So there is a hole at QB, CB2.
And also, I wasn't sold on him anyway. Like I think if you want a Kool-Aid McKinstry, he's a massive upgrade. He probably becomes your QB1, or I mean your corner 1. You could say Banks, he had a good season, but you could say like McKinstry could be even better. And if he is even better, that's not a bad problem to have.
No, it's not.
So, and then on the offensive side of things, obviously running back, you're not drafting a running back. Even if you do or don't re-sign Saquon, you're not taking a running back there. Quarterback, I think you should just wait with Jones, play it out one more year, see if you can fix things. Because let's not forget, this team was in the playoffs just a year ago. I think wide receiver is probably the team's biggest need right now because I can't tell you the last time you guys have had a viable
O-line
wide receiver one.
Need.
Yes, but... you guys can't get the separation anyway. So even if you can't block, you don't have that difference maker.
They don't have a difference maker, but I will say...
And I think you guys have taken so many offensive linemen that haven't panned out. At this point, you need to take the wide receiver because at least you could be like, all right, at least we have a guy that can get separation. Like, you don't have that go-to guy where it's like, all right, our line can't block. We just got to get the ball out and get it to our best player's hands. Like, you have Saquon, but he's a running back. And Waller clearly did not pan out, couldn't stay healthy. That was my big fear with him coming into the year, that he's older, hasn't been able to stay healthy the past couple of years. But you know what? You didn't give up a lot of capital and stuff, and he still could pan out. But you need someone that can get open, get separation. You're not going to get Harrison, but can you get Neighbors? Can you get O'Dunes? Yeah, O'Dunes you'll get, and then Johnson, or not Johnson. Coleman, sorry. So O'Dunes and Coleman will be there. Might be a little early, but do you want Neighbors at 6? I think that's the pick you guys got to go with because you need that guy that'll get the separation and be the difference maker to pair with Wandale, who I think his ceiling is a wide receiver 2. I don't think he'll ever become a wide receiver 1. And I think Hyatt, the speedster, on the outside. So that would be a nice core to put together, those 3.
Pay Saquon whatever the hell you want, right?
I agree.
Well, that's the I wouldn't say.
Are you paying Saquon?
No, I'm not because I don't think that's the formula to win. I don't think he's not going to take a 1-year deal. You're not going to franchise him. I just think it's setting you guys back long term by paying the running back position.
Then who's going to come in at running back?
I think you look at drafting someone in the 2nd, 3rd round, or
it's one of the worst running back classes in recent memory.
I know, which is unfortunate, but I just think long term it sets you guys back. So what you'd have to do is basically say, all right, we'll give Saquon a deal, but he's going to want a long-term deal, which I don't think you can give him. If you can agree to a 2-year deal, it'd be like, look, this is our window to win now. Let's see if we can build around Jones and Saquon and these guys. Then we do it. If that doesn't work out, then you have to basically reset the franchise. Dable's out. All those guys are out and start fresh with a new quarterback and a new guy.
All right. I agree with a lot of what you said. I think offensive line is the biggest need. Now, they're bringing in a new offensive line coach, and I know you mentioned they've taken so many offensive linemen, which they have, and they haven't panned out.
That's why I think for the fans,
and they've invested so much high draft capital into the offensive line. So something's wrong. Either you're scouting wrong, because the only hit they had was Andrew Thomas, and he's an all-pro. Mm-hmm. Like John Michael Smith, the center they just took out of Minnesota this year, was not good.
But he's going to be your center anyway.
Yes, he's the center. So you know you're good at left tackle. You got your center, and you have Evan Neal, right tackle, who has been terrible for 2 years. So you're either scouting wrong or the coaching's wrong. Thank God they fired Bobby Johnson, the O-line coach. Now the new offensive line coach has to decide, can he work with Neal, and does he see him being a long-term starter at right tackle? If he doesn't see him as a long-term starter at right tackle, you got to kick him in the guard.
Yeah.
Then at 6, you can go with Fashanu or Alt. Then you go for Fashanu or Alt.
Yeah.
For the receivers, I agree. I think if they don't go tackle, they go receiver. Because they have Slayton under contract for 1 more year, who's Mr. Consistent, but he's not a wide receiver one, let's be honest. Hyatt's a speedster, but Hyatt also showed that he gets open a lot, and you saw when Tyrod came in, they started taking those deep shots. And Wandell, towards the end of the season, finally got healthy. He's your slot guy.
Yes.
And he looked really good, especially in space. He was quick, he was explosive, made a lot of guys miss. He looked good in the back half of the year, recovering from that knee. Now he's a full offseason actually prepped for the NFL, because it was combine and then it was recovery. So I agree with you. I think it's tackle or receiver.
Unless you go and get a guy like T. Higgins or someone like that to be your number one. But I'm still not sold on T. Higgins as the number one. We've never seen him do it, and I'm really not sold on him because the guy can't stay healthy.
Fuck him.
He can't stay healthy. So I don't know. I just think at this point, like, you just got to do some patch-up jobs and see if you can at least get this team back in the right direction before you make any decisions. But I don't think quarterback's the move.
I mean, if they were to take a quarterback, if they were to take Jaden Daniels, I wouldn't hate it because I have faith in Brian Dable because the guy has worked with quarterbacks his entire life and he built up Josh Allen. So I have faith in Dable if he wants to take a quarterback.
Well, if he does that, that's also saving his job because I think if you don't take a quarterback this year and it's another season like last year, he is fired 100%.
Yes,
because you can't have one good season and the one good season wasn't enough to buy you multiple years. Like we just saw Mike Vrabel get fired, who was a Coach of the Year candidate, and he had 2 bad years and he's gone. You know what I mean? They're not going to give him a 3rd year, so if the only way he gets that 3rd year is if he goes to quarterback this year, so that would be almost an insurance policy for him.
Yeah, that's what a lot of coaches and regimes do to buy more time.
All right, gentlemen, stop being GMs for a moment. Let's hop to Felt versus Fan question. Who has the most career tackles in the NFL, only dated back to 1994, and what team did he play on?
He played on the Commanders.
It's got to be
Did he play on the Commanders?
I don't know what the Commanders are.
The Redskins.
Correct.
He did play on the Redskins. Yo, Walmart put this. He told me
he
today.
Definitely played on multiple teams.
He told me today that he sent a trivia question. I go answer Redskins. He goes correct.
I feel like I don't know who it is.
What other 3 teams did he play on?
Oh, that was wait.
Oh, who's the guy?
Dude,
leading tackler since '94.
He's got the most career tackles in the NFL. Yeah. Since 1994, because I guess
that's crazy.
No,
automatically
you're gonna say it, and I'm gonna know it, and it's gonna piss me off. London Fletcher. Boom!
Oh,
wait! He also played on the Titans, and he played on the Titans. He played on Washington, and then who's the 3rd team? It was definitely at the back end of his career.
Well, I don't want to say
he
Niners.
He didn't play in the Titans.
He didn't?
Nope.
Niners?
Oh.
Nope.
Saints?
Oh, Saints, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, played on the Saints.
2 other teams are Rams and Buffalo.
Okay, but still, the fact that I got it right was
good job.
Let's go, dude. Let's go.
First guess.
I was gonna say, I was I knew right away that it was someone like that, and I just had to keep thinking because I knew there was a big time tackler.
Good.
But I honestly, if it wasn't the guy at Walmart asking the question, I probably would have never thought that way. But the fact that we knew right away it was a Washington guy that helped narrow it down big time.
All right, let's jump to Caleb. General question: did Vrabel deserve to be fired? And how much of the Titans' lackluster season can you actually blame him for?
I don't think he deserved to be fired, but I think you have to fire him because it's basically just saying we're going to reset everything. Will Levis and honestly, it's not like it's that hard to get away from Will Levis. If they honestly want to bring in a new coach, they spent a 2nd-round pick on him. They don't have the 5th-year option. So if they have a new coach comes in, they're a team that could still draft a quarterback. You know what I mean? If they get a coach and GM that come in and they're we don't like Levis, we want Jaden Daniels, or we want to actually go trade up and get one of those top 2 quarterbacks, that's still a possibility.
Where are they picking? 7?
I believe 7 or
7 or 8. No,
7. Yeah,
8's
Chicago's
Atlanta.
9. So there's
Chicago's
7.
9. Jets are 10.
Unless where's Vegas? I know Vegas won, so I think they're 11 or 12. But
yeah.
So they're at 7. So there's still a chance they could go a quarterback too. So I don't know, man. It's definitely interesting, and I really don't blame it on Vrabel 100%. He's the coach at the end of the day, but I blame a lot on Ryan Tannehill not being at the level that he used to be. He wasn't even at a competent level. Honestly, he was not much better than Malik Willis. You know?
Yeah. The coach always deserves some of the blame. He's not their problem. Look at that offense, man. Their offensive line was terrible going into the season. We knew that. Their only kind of guy they had was Peter Skronsky, who was a rookie they just took out of Northwestern. You had 29-year-old Derrick Henry. You came in the season with 35-year-old Tannehill. You got DeAndre Hopkins, your wide receiver one, who's 31. You paid a shit ton of money to, which now like you kind of want to get out of that contract. Your wide receiver two, Traylon Burks, who you traded A.J. Brown to get that pick to take Burks, and he hasn't stayed healthy in 2 years. Has 500 yards total in 2 years. The offense is terrible. They're in a really tough spot for whoever's coming in now because, yeah, you're picking 7, but you got to imagine Henry's not going to be there. For me, I'm going to roll with Levis for one more year because, like you mentioned, Reagan, I think they're going to be terrible. I think you're going to be picking the top of the draft. So I think you roll out Levis, you see what he's got. Next year, you get a dress quarterback. At 7, I'd go receiver. You can go tackle.
They have a lot of options.
There's a lot of ways you can go.
They have a lot of holes, so it works out well. They could even trade back, honestly, and stockpile picks. Like
yeah, they have a lot of holes.
Like, there's a lot of teams that could trade up for Daniel. Like if Daniels is there at 7, they'll have some people coming up to buy it, and they'll get a lot more assets than they probably would have.
Yeah, you can go a lot of directions. I don't think Vrabel deserved to be fired, and they were talking about the potential of trading him, similar to how Sean Payton got traded to the Broncos. The ownership said basically at the end of the day it was going to take too long, and they want to get going on a new coach. So that's why they fired him when they could have gotten an asset. And also a lot of coaches, we've seen this in the past, they don't want to be traded for because they want the team they're going to have that draft pick or picks. So Vrabel probably would push back against getting traded anyways. Interesting situation, but he's certainly a top 12 to 15 coach in this league, and he will get hired soon.
Nice. Okay, so somehow Saquon Barkley got our link. General question. What is your most likely Super Bowl matchup, and do you think any teams could shock people and make a run?
Well, I'd say the Browns is a team that could shock people and make a run. I think at this point, like, I still am not going to count out Philadelphia. Like, I still think they can make a run with their pedigree. Like, they were just a team in the Super Bowl last year, returning a lot of guys. Like, they have a lot of issues, but at this point, I'd say if they made it to the Super Bowl, that's a team that would be shocking at this point, which is crazy to say that it's, like, completely flipped. And they've done a 180 where now they're coming in, like, as underdogs with not a lot of expectations. But those are two teams I think could shock if we're going based off of both conferences. I'd say the most likely matchup is Ravens versus Niners.
It's definitely most likely. They've been the two most dominant teams all year.
But, I mean, Buffalo, I could see, like, Buffalo and Dallas, too. Like, a Buffalo-Dallas I could see, which I believe has been a matchup before in the Super Bowl back in the 90s.
I like to see Bills-Ravens. That would be sick. I mean, like, I'm talking about, like, in conference. That would be sick.
Bills-Ravens would be a fun game.
I was like, that's a bold take.
Yeah. I would just be a good game in general.
Yeah, no, I mean, I obviously have a Browns future, so I'm a little biased towards them, but I definitely think that's who I'm rooting for to win. But
all right.
I didn't get to say mine. Drock, you relax.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So, yeah, the most likely scenario is definitely Niners-Ravens. Considering you get that first-round bye, it's very, very crucial. Now, like Reagan said, Dallas and Buffalo, I think, are the clear two in both conferences that can get there. Now, who can surprise people? I think everyone is counting out the Chiefs right now with all their struggles, but let's be honest. It's Mahomes and Andy Reid in the playoffs. You can never count them out, and they're going to spank Miami this weekend. The weather's going to be – it's going to be like –
spank them? I don't know about that. Win, yes.
It's going to be 10 degrees in Kansas City. Miami cannot play in cold weather. It's a terrible draw for them. Miami needed to win that game to play at home, to play Buffalo again. Terrible draw for Miami. I think the Chiefs definitely beat the Dolphins, and you never want to play Mahomes and Reid in the playoffs. I'm going to push back on your Eagles a little bit, just considering that A.J. Brown has the knee, Devontae has the ankle, Jalen Hurts has the finger. That's a lot of issues on the offense, which has been carrying you all year because that defense is brutal. Mm-hmm. Slay's been out for an extended period of time. Does he come back? You'd hope so, but at the same time, I don't think he's saving that defense. I think Philly actually gets, I don't know. I haven't decided whether or not they're going to lose to Tampa Bay, but I don't have confidence in them.
I just can't see them losing to Tampa Bay.
Dude, it's just weird. I mean, Tampa Bay just looks so bad against Carolina, you know?
Yeah.
They won 9-0.
And it's not like Baker's healthy either.
No, he's not healthy. He's got the rib injury, also ankle. So
yeah, he was limping every single time he came off the field.
I don't know. It's going to be a tough game to predict. Now, a team that could surprise people in the NFC, I'm going to go with the Rams, man. I think, given that core, McVay, Stafford, Kupp, Donald, has all done it before, and you have all these young bucks, like, those are your leaders. They got a ring. They're a scary team, and I think the Lions are probably pissed that they drew the Rams in the first round because that team's been hot. Granted, they did almost lose to the Giants. They did not play well that game, but I think the Rams could shock some people in the NFC.
All right, now we got a fantasy question from Saquon. What are your thoughts on a waiver pickup of Bo Melton of the Packers in Dynasty this offseason?
I think he should be stashed absolutely out of Rutgers. Shout out Coco. Considering that Packers receiving core is so young, like you don't have a proven guy like Devontae Adams there that you know is going to be getting touches. You have Jaden Reed, who popped off this year as a rookie, where you know he's going to have a role. You have Romeo Dobbs, who's been good, not great.
Wicks has been good.
Yeah, he's been good when he stepped in because Christian Watson's been out, and he's shown that he can't stay healthy. And even when he was healthy this year, he wasn't consistent. He wasn't producing. So there's a lot of young guys, and there's a lot of opportunity for guys to get more targets. So I think you should stash Bo Melton considering how he looked at the end of the season.
So I wouldn't say absolutely stash him because I know obviously it depends on how big is your bench size. Like there's a lot of options there, so it's not an absolute stash for me. It really comes, like, to me, a lot of factors in. If you got a ton of bench spots in your team, you need wide receivers, pick them up. If you're like, I'm set on wide receivers, and go take some running back flyers. Because we got the rookie draft coming up soon, and after the rookie draft, that's when you want to pick up all these undrafted guys. Because I'd rather take flyers on them where maybe you get the Puka Nacua, because that's what I did.
Yeah, but you can stash on Taxi.
You can, yes, but I still think you should try to fill as many as you can, like try to get 5 or 6 guys. So it really depends on your dynasty settings because, like, I know ours we have, like, maybe 15 bench spots. So if you have more than 15, yeah. Even if you have 10 plus, yeah. But if you have, like, less than 10, then no.
I would also say if you're holding on to vets, like, I don't know, a dude like Leonard Fournette, you know, waiting to get a spot, or like a Dalvin Cook or something like that, like an old back that's past his prime that his only real path to being fantasy relevant is injuries and being in the right situation.
I'll fight back on that because
I'd rather
I
have
did that with Zeke this year, and then come playoff time, Zeke was a viable starter.
Yeah, but you picked him up during the season.
Yes,
didn't
but
you?
No. I picked him up like before the season started because somebody dropped him right after the rookie draft. So I think like guys like that where it's like they're the clear cut number 2 and have done it before as the number 1. Like it's tough for me because like if he does get that situation, like his ceiling's higher than Bo Melton's. But I think. Basically, if you'd be calling your shot. So if you think Bo Melton really could become a starter for you, then pick him up. If you don't see that future, then don't.
I think if he can become fantasy relevant, just given his age, at the worst, he's a trade chip.
Fair enough, yeah.
Then we got a betting question. Thoughts on Bucks plus 2.5 at home against a struggling Philly team?
I am going to go with Philly in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it's so tough.
Just because Baker's injured.
I haven't dove into it yet. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. So we're going to have our picks tomorrow when we do our pod. It's tough because Baker's beat up, but also I just mentioned a lot of guys on Philly's offense are beat up, and Philly's lost 5 of the last 6,
Both
including
teams
losses.
are limping into this matchup.
Yeah, including loss to the Cardinals and then getting their ass kicked by the Giants in week 17 and 18. 2 teams picking the top 6. Very tough to predict. It does help Tampa Bay that they're at home, though, I will say, because being at Philly is definitely tough come playoff time.
Got a punishment idea: ice bath, 10 minutes, boxers only.
I used to do that after practice. It sucks. You just gotta wait for the balls to get numb.
Yeah, that could be
a punishment for Colin.
That could be something. Yeah, that is something we could maybe even do on the pod. Like you have to do a segment.
You gotta do a segment in the ice bath.
Yeah,
I would like that.
That's a good idea.
We just need a big tub.
Or like a social media thing where you gotta go like on Instagram Live for 10 minutes and just answer all the questions.
I actually like that idea of being in an ice bath during the pod. That's about it. That's a good idea.
Yeah, good job.
Right,
Who was that? Who
thanks
asked this?
Saquon, aka Kenny Sisson.
Oh, that was Kenny.
Donut Man.
He was Pop-Tart Man last time. Now he's Saquon Barkley.
Oh, that's good.
Was he Hugh Chavez in the past? I don't know.
Oh, Hugh has still not revealed himself.
Yeah.
All right, let's hop to Jared. General question: who are the top 5 most important non-quarterbacks in this year's playoffs?
Ooh, wow.
McCaffrey.
Are you going order or just naming 5?
just
It's
naming
tough to
5.
go. It's tough to go order.
Well, McCaffrey. You could say Roquan to the Ravens.
I like McCaffrey and Roquan.
Myles Garrett on the Browns. I would say T.J. Watt, but he's already out, and they're not going to go far. I'm looking at teams that'll go far. You know what I mean? Like that'll actually be around for a while. Micah Parsons.
You want to keep going pass rushers. Aaron Donald. He fuels that Rams defense.
Yeah.
If they're gonna make noise, Aaron
but
Donald.
The defense hasn't. They like these other teams have been winning because they're elite defensive play. Like the Rams have been getting in these shootouts and winning still. So
but
it's like
Aaron Donald is historically in the playoffs an absolute beast, and if they're gonna make a run, he has to have multiple sacks.
I'm not discrediting him. I just don't know if he's in my top 5. I'm trying to think. I would say Matt Milano if he was playing for the Bills, but he's not.
How about Stephon Diggs? He has not been.
Or Tyreek too.
Tyreek, yeah. Tyreek is basically the Miami offense. If they're making a run, yes, Tyreek.
Or Chris Jones also.
I say Diggs only because the Bills have been winning. They've won, 5 or 6 in a row, and
Yeah.
Diggs has been almost non-existent in the offensive game plan. I know it's worked now, but if they're going to get to the Super Bowl and win it, Diggs has to be an integral part of it. So he's top 5 X factors for me, for sure. Mm-hmm. We just named like 10 dudes, so you got to pick your own 5 from there.
All right, fantasy question. What player do you foresee driving up their fantasy value next year in these playoffs? Damian Williams, Chris Hogan, and others of the past playoff runs.
So I guess like guys like Kyron probably won't drive it up any more than they already have. So if we're going more on a scale of like that, where he's talking about guys that really didn't have any value, to then like, oh shit, like this guy's legit.
How about Dalton Kincaid? Because I think Dawson Knox is going to be out the door. And if Kincaid has a big playoff run, I think he could be picked as a top 8 to 10 tight end next year, considering that he's young and that's a high-powered offense. I think Kincaid could be viable.
Rashid Rice,
I mean, a lot of people know about him because he's the number 1, but if he goes on a crazy playoff
run,
exactly. Then he's up in that like 40s type of range in the redraft.
I would say, honestly, Ayuk, because it seems like every year coming into it, he's kind of like slept on in the sense. So Ayuk, if he has a crazy playoff run, like he could be in that like 3rd to 4th round pick, maybe even a 2nd if he goes crazy.
I like that one. Zay Flowers. I'll go Zay Flowers. Had a phenomenal rookie year. And if he pops off with Lamar and they win a Super Bowl, I could see Zay Flowers getting picked very high.
How about Justice Hill, too?
Yeah, I like Justice Hill. That's a good one.
All right, betting question. If you had to bet NFC or AFC to win the Super Bowl, who would you and why?
AFC.
Why?
Just because there's more options that I think could actually win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, all it takes is, like, right now, like, in the NFC, like, the only team, like, everyone seems to be, like, 100% sold on is the 49ers. And what if it just takes one fluky thing? Like, last year, Brock Purdy gets injured. There goes their season. You know what I mean? So if you got one of those fluky teams that goes on a run that makes it in versus, like, the AFC where it's, like, the Ravens seem to be legit. The Bills seem to be legit right now.
Can't sleep on the Chiefs.
Like, the Browns have been, in my opinion, a top 5 team the past, like, they're, like, coming in super hot. So, and even, like, other teams like Miami, like, outside of, like, can you definitely say, like, Dallas, Philly, Detroit is better than them? So it's, like, there's almost, like, 5 or 6 teams in the AFC that you can say are better than, like, the second best team in the NFC, and the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'd love to disagree with you to argue, but I can't because, like you mentioned, the NFC, it's Niners or bust, in my opinion. Cowboys are going to choke. They do every year. Lions, I think, are flukes. I think they lose to the Rams. Tampa Bay or Philly have faith in neither team. Where in the AFC, those top 3, I think, can all do it.
Yeah.
Now, can the Browns make a push to the playoff? To the Super Bowl, I put them at 4, but I still don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl. Miami, without their top 2 edge rushers, Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, they're not doing it. Bringing in Justin Houston off the street today, like, that's not going to solve your issues there. And they can't play in cold weather, so I'm sorry. You're not beating the Chiefs on the road. If you do, congrats. You're not beating the Ravens on the road.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not happening for me. Houston, they're too young. Great that they got there, great experience. They can't do it, but so I settle on 3 teams in the AFC, and I'm only confident in 1 in the NFC.
All right, let's hop to Austie.
Austie.
A couple of general questions from him. It seems that you guys answered most of them, but one that stands out is how far does Penix fall in the draft and after his lackluster performance against Michigan?
I still think he's top 10 because I think, I think he'll have a good combine. I think the fact that there's so many teams, and this has been the year where there's been the most like injuries and different quarterbacks like started this year, where I think the quarterback position is so valuable at this point, and there's so many teams like in that like top 10 range to top 15 range that could use a quarterback where I still don't think he falls super far. Like maybe now he's like where there was a chance like, oh, could he go before Daniels? Now that's probably done, and now I'd say at this point, I think he's locked into the 4 because I don't see McCarthy or Nix going before him, so I'd say he's still a first rounder. It's just a matter of more towards the back half, but then maybe the front half. But I'd say top 10 is still a very good chance.
I think there's 0 chance he goes top 10 after that performance, considering his medical red flags.
Yeah,
because his performance after Texas was drumming up some conversation of him potentially going top 10. Then we saw some mock drafts at him going 8 to Atlanta. There are some sweet spots in the middle of the draft. Teams like Denver, teams like New Orleans, Atlanta.
But I don't necessarily want to use it as a negative against him because it's like at the end of the day, like he's getting more tape on him and he's playing in big games, which I think is a big crucial thing. And also like some of these teams might not want a project, like a young guy that is a project. Like a lot of these teams do that, and like we want the young guy, like doesn't have all the experience and it doesn't work out. Look at a guy like Brock Purdy. You could say a lot's the system, but he was a guy who played all 4 years in college, had a lot of experience, came in older, and can actually command an offense. So at the end of the day, some teams might be like, yeah, there's some red flags here, but he has a lot of experience. Maybe he hasn't played the best in big games, but he has the experience of being in those big games versus taking some of the guys that might be bigger projects. Because how many big games has Jaden Daniels been in?
A couple. I mean, he's started for a lot of years. Jaden Daniels.
But I'm saying
Jaden Daniels is 23.
My whole thing
he was
is
a freshman in Arizona State playing.
Hold on, he hasn't played in the college football playoffs. Bo Nix hasn't played in the college football playoffs. Well, they're older. They're not playing in the big time games in front of the whole entire country.
Josh Allen didn't play in the college football playoffs.
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes didn't. Lamar Jackson didn't.
Okay.
Those are the 3 best quarterbacks in the
I
league.
understand that. But we can name a ton of guys that didn't pan out.
Yeah.
That is my point. Like, yeah, you can name guys that didn't. I'm just more so saying there's going to be 5 or 6 quarterbacks probably taken in the top 2 rounds, and how many of them are actually going to pan out? Because they're not all going to pan out.
No. I mean,
So they
chances
never
are two boom, couple are right, couple bust.
Yeah.
That's
and you said like Josh Allen went to a small school, didn't play in a bunch of big games. Trey Lance went to a small school, didn't play in a lot of big games.
each player
He
is
didn't
his
pan
own
out.
man.
Exactly. So my whole point is there's a lot of things, there's some positives you can take from Penix. Like, while he may have not performed, he still played in a big game last night, showed some flashes, definitely showed some reasons that maybe you shouldn't be as high on him, but I still think he goes in the first round, and I have confidence that he could still sneak into that top 10.
I think his ceiling is mid-first round, potentially 20s.
I think his ceiling's top 10, but I think his mid-ground and probably where he'll go is middle first.
I think the biggest issue is his knee injuries, though. Like,
Yeah.
Granted, it's one game last night. You don't take a player based off one game.
And that's my point.
But I think he needed that game to boost him into the top 10, considering his medical red flags.
Yeah.
All right, last question within 2 minutes. What team is guaranteed first round exit?
Guaranteed a first-round exit. I mean, the
Steelers.
easy one's the Steelers. Yeah, the Steelers are easily going to lose to the Bills.
And then I'm going to also say the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I said that. I think Kansas City
And
spanks
then
them.
Green Bay as well.
Yeah, I think Green Bay is going to lose to Dallas.
I mean,
as
Green
well.
Bay and
Yeah.
Steelers are the obvious ones, but I'd say the Dolphins are like the one where the spread is kind of... And then
It's
I'll,
4. Yeah, it's 4.
and the Lions, too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say easily because the Lions are favored.
No,
but
Lions, they're going to get exposed. I'd be a fool to not back up my take that I've been saying they're a first-round exit all season.
All right.
A fool.
That wraps up a lot of questions, guys. We'll get to the games next.
All right, guys, welcome back in. We're going to recap not every single game, as much as I'm sure you guys would love to hear about the Aiden O'Connell versus Jarrett Stidham battle. We're not going to get into, or maybe the Easton Stick versus Chad Henne. We can't get into every matchup, but...
Hey, Blaine Gabbert. Don't disrespect Blaine. Yeah,
Oh.
you guys asked so many great questions today. We had a lot of news, so we're going to take this time to go over the games that actually mattered for playoff implications. We're going to start off Saturday. Steelers beat the Ravens 17-10. Now, the Ravens rested a lot of starters. However, the Steelers getting that win... And
Massive,
what
'cause they
ensued?
made the playoffs.
Yeah, and they made the playoffs with what ensued the rest of the weekend. Huge for Pittsburgh. Mason Rudolph 18-20 for 152 and 1 touchdown. Not a lot of passing yards, Reagan, but he was efficient, and that got him the starting nod this weekend against Buffalo. Najee Harris 26 for 112 and a touchdown.
Yeah,
What a
guess where he
game for
finished
your
on
boy.
the season? Number 7.
Number 7. So Reagan's hot take of leading the league wasn't that crazy.
It wasn't, yeah. You know what? I was getting a lot of shit early on. A lot of people going, yeah, Najee, that one's really panning out. Yes, I was wrong, but at least it was a respectable wrong. Like, if you finish top 7, at least it's like, you know what? At least the take was like, there was some reasoning behind it where it's like, you know what? It didn't hit, but at least it had some potential.
Yeah, he turned it on at the end of the season to make you not look like an idiot, my friend.
Yeah, I think I just have to take him next year because I'm going to be pissed if he doesn't.
My biggest takeaway from this, though, Reagan, George Pickens without a target.
Yeah.
That is not a recipe for success heading into the playoffs.
Hey, they
in May.
didn't need it. In fairness, and I think weather played a big factor in the game.
It was a
script,
monsoon,
and,
yes.
Yeah, and just the fact that they didn't need it. They were running the ball well. Najee and Warren were getting some big holes and gashing them.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson had 4 for 89 for a touchdown to lead the
Big touchdown,
Steelers
too.
receiving-wise. For the Ravens, a lot of backups. Don't have to go too much into it. Huntley had a touchdown, and that was to Isaiah Likely, who's been a touchdown machine towards the back half of the year. I'm looking for Isaiah Likely to continue his hot streak into the playoffs, Reagan.
Sure.
All right, what do we want to jump to next, huh?
Probably the next big
Probably the
Saturday
next
game.
big game. The Texans and the Colts, the big bet of the week. I'm the king of the big bets. Texans took it down. You said it was a smash play. You thought the Colts were going to roll.
I did. I didn't love the play calling at the end. There's so many fingers you could point there. You could blame it on why am I blanking out on the running back? Help me out here. Because it wasn't Jonathan Taylor. It wasn't Zach Moss. I mean, it's a guy that really hasn't...
what's his name?
It should be in the box score. Just look at Colts running backs. He probably had a...
Yeah, he didn't record a stat.
Yeah, but he should be on there because of the target, no?
No, he's not on there.
31. He was number 30. Wow, that's bad. I'm blanking out.
Tyler Goodson?
Tyler Goodson, yes.
Tyler Goodson.
Yeah, bad. Not great preparation on my end. But, yes, you could blame it on him a little bit. You could blame it on Minshew a little bit, There's a lot of guys you could blame it on, but I think it all comes down to Steichen and that coaching. Like, what are you doing, man? You're taking a timeout, to think over that last play, and then you don't get it. Like, at least if you didn't get it, but you had your 3 timeouts, you actually have a chance. Then you think about it, because when they go to punt, there's 8 seconds on the clock. If you have that 3rd timeout, you have 48 seconds.
Yeah, Reagan, that was shocking to me.
And then it's like, okay, you get the ball back with about 40 seconds, maybe on the 40-yard line, 30-yard line. At least you can get the ball downfield.
You have a puncher's chance.
And have a chance first. They take the safety, and honestly, if the punter just waits 1 more second, they don't even get the kick return. And so it comes down a lot to coaching. I don't think people are giving enough shit for him taking that timeout. The play call was good. The guy was open. Minshew's got to make a better throw. Goodson's got to come down with it. But also, it's why is Goodson in? It should be Taylor. Or even Moss you could make a case for, just because Moss had been so dominant on the year as well. Not Goodson.
I agree with you, Reagan, with everything you said, and I think a lot of the heat was not on Steichen because of how the final play ensued. That Goodson dropped it.
A lot should be, because people should point to the fact that, hey, you didn't even give your team a chance. If your defense did get a stop, which they did.
They did, yes.
So,
a lot of people were mad that Taylor wasn't in. He had 30 carries for 188 and a touchdown in this one. He was dominant. He was their entire offense. I don't hate the play call. It was designed really well. He was naked, wide open. Minshew, like you said, needs a better throw. Goodson needs to catch that ball. Hits both your hands. It's a big moment for a kid. Tough for him to be the guy that you go to there, but at the end of the day, the play has to be made. For Houston, this was won by C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins in this one. Stroud went 20-26 for 264, 2 touchdowns. Nico Collins, 9 for 195 and a touchdown, Reagan, with the long of 75. And that kind of set the tone early in the game because the Colts had a long drive. They kicked a field goal, and then right away, boom, Stroud down to Nico Collins. Beautiful deep ball.
Yeah, killing our Dalton Schultz.
Dalton Schultz
first touchdown. Within one play, we're like, oh, let's go. Cool. They got the stop. Let's see Schultz. And then it's like, oh, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. Well, I will say, at least for the parlay, Dave's Najee hit. My C.J. Stroud hit by half a yard. We fell short, though, as a collective, so we got to do better for you guys. And we will.
Yeah,
Houston.
My Pittman did not hit. And
No.
Joe's Gardner didn't even come close.
Didn't even come close.
It was rough. I should have stuck with Taylor. I kept saying I had Taylor from the start, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna switch it. Shouldn't have.
Don't switch. Never switch.
Didn't matter in the long run but I did have Taylor the whole time.
Never switch. And the Texans, with that win, punched their ticket to the playoffs. We're not going to dive into the Bengals over the Browns. Bengals won 31-14. Browns are resting a lot of their starters.
Yeah,
9-8 for the Bengals without Joe Burrow for much of the season, though. The fact they had a winning record, so
what
pretty
I will
impressive.
say is, though, Jake Browning, it'll be interesting to see if what ends up happening. He's not going to be the Bengals starter, but just will a team try to trade for him in the offseason? Because he definitely showed a lot of flashes.
He did. He could be a viable plug-and-play guy. If a guy goes down in training camp, a starting quarterback, I can see Browning on the move. Or they can still have him as Burrow's backup.
Yeah.
Not going to dive into the Lions or the Vikings, concerned the Vikings were not in it.
Thing, though?
You
slanging that thing,
slanging that thing, Nick Mullins, slang that thing.
I said it on the pod, and there was a clip on social media, half joking around, I'm going to sprinkle on 400 plus, and he had 396. He was slanging it, but he didn't get 400. But damn,
and he found Justin Jefferson for 12 for 192 and a touchdown for Jettas to end his season.
Stings because the week before, Jettas was the one that didn't hit on the parlay, and it was just
if you had Mullins in the whole game, that hits.
Yep.
That hits. Disappointing. We're going to talk about the Titans and the Jaguars for a little bit here, just because the Titans knocked the Jags out of the playoffs.
Yeah,
from
Mike
8-3
last game as head coach
of the playoffs. Titans finished 6-11 with a 28-20 win over the Jags. Jags 8-3 to 9-8 missed the playoffs. Texans win the division. This was behind Derrick Henry, 19 for 153 and a touchdown, and then potentially his last game as a Titan.
Yeah, he addressed the crowd like it was. So, and honestly, now Henry might be a guy going wherever Vrabel goes.
Yeah, because Henry did say today to Diana Rossini he was very shocked that Vrabel was hired, and he's looking forward to where he ends up next. Potentially,
yeah. I
don't know. I think him and Ramondre would be a nice duo in New England.
Yeah.
For the Jags, they didn't really do much. Lawrence, 280, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. ETN, 16 for 57. Ridley, 6 for 106, a touchdown. Ingram, 10 more catches to add on to his phenomenal year for
Yeah.
79 and a touchdown. But they fall short. That defense ultimately was what let them down the stretch. That's why they're at home, sitting the couch with us. I'm not going to dive into the Jets-Patriots. Jets won
Hey.
17-3.
Hey, at least give us credit for ending that streak.
They did end the 15-game losing streak to the Pats, and I was saying there's no way in hell Belichick loses last game to the Jets. Well, he still has a job right now, so maybe I'm not wrong.
And how about how about Brees, man?
Brees, 37 carries for 178 and a touchdown.
Yeah, he ended up finishing the year with I think almost 1,600 scrimmage yards. So hell of a year for him. So I can only imagine what he'll do next year with Aaron Rodgers.
And when he's not spending the offseason rehabbing from a knee, and he has a full year to prepare.
He might go for 2,000 all-purpose yards next year.
I wouldn't be shocked. To be honest with you, I think he's RB2 behind McCaffrey going into next season.
Yeah, it's either him or Kyron as the RB2.
Not going to dive into Falcons. Saints. Saints won 48-17. It was close in the beginning. It was 17-17 at half, and the Saints put it on them at the end of the game.
Can I talk about Derek Carr for a minute?
You can if you want.
Just the fact, this isn't an apology, but it's more so just me being very annoyed that this guy, like, I'm happy they didn't make the playoffs because it would have hurt that much more. Although it does hurt when they came up one win short of it because they went 9-8. I needed them to go 10-7 or better. But the fact that he ended the season with 25 touchdowns to 8 picks and almost 4,000 passing yards pisses me off because it doesn't look like he had a bad year. And, like, also the last 4 games of the season, like, he hold on, I had it up before. I guess how many touchdowns he threw for in the past 4 weeks?
11.
12 touchdowns to 1 interception in his past 4 games. Where the hell was this all season, Derek Carr? Like, this is the guy that I was talking about that could maybe go for the MVP, but, 4 games in a 17-game season doesn't quite do it, so.
I will point out one more thing for the Saints. Kendre Miller, 13 for 73 and a touchdown in this one. Rookie out of TCU, was hurt for a lot of the year. With Kamara aging, Jamal Williams, don't know if he'll be back. They didn't really have much of a role this season.
Not at all.
I would stash Kendre Miller if he's available in any of your dynasty leads. Also, Bijan, 7 catches for 103 at a 75-yard touchdown catch. Pretty badass. Hopefully he can do that next year with a better offensive mind in place.
Badass for sure.
Not going to really dive into the Bucs-Panthers, considering it was a 9-0 game, but the Bucs did clinch the division with a beat-up Baker Mayfield. Surprised they didn't score a touchdown. You're not beating Philly by scoring 9 points. I'm sorry. They need to figure it out. It's Carolina.
That was a very ugly game.
Defense looks good, but they got to figure it out if they're going to do anything in the playoffs. Packers 17-9 over the Bears, improved to 9-8, and make the playoffs. I said that preseason. That was one of my hot takes. I had to win the division, so that was the hottest of takes. But at least they got in at 9-8.
They did, yeah.
Proud of myself for that one. Now let's highlight Jordan Love here, Reagan.
Yeah, he had
27 of 32 for 316 and 2 touchdowns against this Bears defense that has been almost dominant the back half of the season.
Very dominant, yes. Like outside of a few teams, you could say they've been the best defense in football. In
Crazy.
The back half.
Aaron Jones, 22 for 111. Jaden Reed, 4 for 112. Bo Melton, 5 for 62. That offense, man, it's humming. It doesn't matter who's that receiver.
He was slanging it.
Slanging that thing. I mean, Jordan Love might be one of those guys that comes to mind when we say slang that thing.
Yeah, it'll be
now, Justin
always.
Fields, 11.
Or Joe Flacco.
With Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco better be slanging it.
I like to take back my Michael Penix Jr., the first guy that comes to mind, slanging that thing. He let me down. Justin Fields, 11 of 16 for 148, had 8 carries for 27 yards. Did not look too good in this one. Potentially his last game as a Bear. I don't know. The fans want him there.
I hope not. They would be foolish.
Also, the draft would be wild if they moved the number 1 pick. It's the bidding
I hope they
war
do.
that would ensue.
Who doesn't want some excitement in Detroit?
It would be.
Because they ain't getting the
excitement.
Super Bowl, so they're going to need some excitement.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. All right, what do we got next? We're not going to dive into the Raiders-Broncos. 27-14, Raiders win. Both teams end 8-9. Now, it does help Antonio Pierce's case to get the head coaching job. He still is in place.
But it doesn't because the same owner is there when they didn't give Versace the job when he got him into the playoffs. So,
yeah, you never know what Davis is going to do. Giants-Eagles. Giants 27-10. I was at this one. I had to go support the boys. Wow, that was fun. That was a lot of fun watching Saquon Barkley shit on that team. Tyrod Taylor played well. The Eagles were in shambles. A.J. Brown got hurt early with the knee, and then Hurts broke his finger. Then it was Mariota time, and at that point, the game was over.
That was another thing. A lot of people were crapping on Hurts and stuff, but I'm like, did you see his finger? He's missing a lot of weapons. Obviously, he didn't play well up to that point, but this Eagles team has a lot of issues, and the blame Hurts is crazy to me.
Giants also applied a lot of pressure on Hurts. Wink,
yeah.
Fuck him, but he dialed up some good blitzes. And,
Fuck 'em.
and it was a problem because that Eagles front has been deemed one of the best in football for quite some time. They're going to have to put up a better showing against Tampa Bay because that defense is no joke. Seattle beat Arizona 21-20, finished 9-8. However, fall just short of the playoffs.
Yeah, and they fell just short, but they already knew it was funny at the end of the game. They just went for 2 at the end because they already had been eliminated because the Packers already won, so they just went for 2 and won the game.
Just to end it.
Yeah, they were basically there was still 2 minutes left, and they're like, yeah, Seattle's gonna go for 2 here because they don't want to risk injuries and stuff playing for overtime when the game doesn't matter.
Makes sense.
And also they're probably Pete Carroll's probably if we don't get it, just a better draft pick.
Better draft. Yeah, it's honestly pretty smart.
Yeah.
Chiefs 13-12 over the Chargers. Chiefs played a lot of backups. Chargers with Easton Stick couldn't get it done. Ugly game.
Yeah, I mean, definitely he's going to stick around for a while, though. He definitely seems like he'll be a backup in this league.
That was nice little.
Oh shit! I didn't. Yeah.
Oh, no pun intended.
No pun intended.
He's gonna stick around for a while. All right. Hey.
I can do it.
Rams squeak one out against the Niners, 21-20. Battle of the backups. Sam Darnold, 189 and a touchdown.
A crazy battle of the backups.
Carson Wentz, 17 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown.
I will say, his rushing line was 9.5.
9.5, and he had 17 carries.
Yeah.
Wow, that would have been a nice smash play.
Yeah.
Dallas 38-10 over the Commanders. CeeDee Lamb 13 for 98, 2 touchdowns. Pollard got in the end zone. Dak 4 touchdowns, threw for 279 against this terrible Commanders defense. Don't have to dive too much into that one. We will dive into this one though to conclude the regular season. Buffalo, Miami. Buffalo finishes 11-6. So does Miami, but Buffalo wins the division, Reagan. And it was funny going into the game, looking at how it would play out. If Miami were to win, they would have been the 2 seed and played Buffalo right back there in Miami.
It would have been all right,
a week later, run it back.
Everyone stay.
And then with the Bills win, they now have Pittsburgh at home, which looks like one of the easiest probably the easiest matchup you can get.
And also guaranteed a second home playoff game.
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely. No playoff games.
Or I guess if Pittsburgh went on a run, but yeah.
I doubt it, but yeah. So now you have 2 home playoff games in Buffalo, which no one wants to play in Buffalo in January.
Not me.
Huge, absolutely huge. And with Miami, they play so much better at home, not a cold weather team. This was actually a massive game, and now they got to travel to Kansas City. I know we talked about Josh Allen earlier, threw for 359, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. The 1 pick in the end zone was really bad. They could have scored before half, but Josh threw it in front of the goal line, and the Dolphins linebacker made a phenomenal play, stopping him short. James Cook averaged 2.8 yards per carry in this one.
Yeah,
not a good day out of him.
They didn't really try to run the ball that much, to be honest.
No, they really didn't. They kind of abandoned it.
I was kind of shocked on. I fully expected them to lean more on the run game because they've had a lot of success on this winning streak with feeding James Cook.
Yeah, Khalil Shakir was leading receiver for Buffalo, 6 for 105. Diggs, 7 for 87. Allen also did miss Diggs on a deep ball. That could have been a touchdown as well. So Diggs could have had a monster game here.
Well, and that's just my point with Allen. He did have a good game, but, without full context, to act like he had, an all-out, crazy game is just wrong. Completely wrong.
For the Miami side, Tua 17-27 for 173, a touchdown and 2 INTs. The one to end the game looked more like it was on Chase Claypool, which I can't believe on 4th down you're targeting Chase Claypool.
Well, Tyreek was out of the game.
No, it wasn't. It was 3rd down.
Yeah, and also Tyreek had a bunch of bad drops down the stretch. He dropped 2 or 3, and Tua missed them on one. Just a couple that's dude, if you're a top 3 receiver, you gotta catch it.
Yeah, Tyreek still had 7 for 82 and a touchdown this one, but there's a video circling around on Twitter right now that's all of Tyreek Hill's drops down the stretch, and people are like, that's another 400 yards and 4 touchdowns on the table right there.
He had a lot of drops this year.
Yeah, he did have a lot of drops. McDaniel did come out and say they're not worried. I mean, he's an all-world receiver, so
yeah, I'm
sure he'll be fine, but just something to monitor. Achane had 10 for 56 and a touchdown.
Yeah,
with Mostert out.
I'm surprised they abandoned the run with him so early, too. They were killing him in the first half.
They were.
Him and Jeff Wilson.
Hopefully they have Waddle and Mostert back for their playoff matchup against the Chiefs because, boy, they're going to need it. They need to have their full arsenal if they're going to go into Kansas City and win that game. All right, Reagan, that concludes the regular season, man. It was an honor doing this regular season with you, 46 episodes. Man, that was fun, but now it's time for the real fun.
Job's not finished.
Job's not finished.
No, it's not.
Now we got the playoffs, and I can't wait. We'll be back tomorrow. You guys will see this tomorrow. Later in the week, we got the postseason prediction. We'll give you our entire rundown on who we think is going to meet up in the Super Bowl, who's going to win it. We're going to have our own brackets. Should be fun, man. Should be fun.
I'm very, very, very excited.
I'm sure you
Can't wait to watch my boy slang it.